Welcome to my review of the Trial of the Chicago 7, a new film that is available to watch on Netflix. It's directed by Aaron Sorkin, who is the man behind The West Wing and The Social Network. This is a historical legal drama that's based on true events. It's about a group that were called the Chicago 7 eventually, who were charged with crossing state lines in the United States, supposedly with the intention to incite riots at the 1968 Democratic National Convention. They stood in court and they were up against a judge who was not a nice guy, called Julius Hoffman, who appeared quite biased and really just wanted to put these people in prison as quickly as possible. Initially, it was actually called the Chicago 8 because there was an eighth person who was also lumped in with them. His name was Bobby Seale. So you had the Chicago 7 who had a lawyer, but this eighth man, Bobby Seale, didn't have any legal representation. So he would often speak out and say, "Hey, judge, I have no representation, so therefore I have the right to a fair trial. I have the right to a lawyer." But actually, this eighth person was actually bound and gagged at one point in a court. This is America, where apparently it's the land of the free and everyone has the right to a fair trial. It stars Eddie Redmayne, Sacha Baron Cohen, Mark Rylance, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Abdul Yahya Mateen II, and Frank Langella, who plays this horrible judge. I like myself a good courtroom drama, and naturally with a courtroom drama, you automatically end up supporting one side. It's generally the defendant because all of the evidence, the case is against that. So you are rooting for that person to get free. And this film is no different. You're definitely on the side of the Chicago 7. I must admit, I'd not really heard of this tale before. I'd not heard of this true story before the film. And apparently there are other accounts of this film and other accounts of this story. So by all means, feel free to check them out. But I would actually say check out this one because this one is gives a really good account of what happens. It's just over 2 hours in length and it takes a little while to get into. Initially, you're being introduced to the characters, you get the names of the people on screen so you understand who is who and who represents what. But I must admit that as the film goes on, I think it gets better and I enjoy the second hour of the film more than the first. And it's probably because as you get into the film, there's quite a pivotal moment that really explains why all these people are in court, how they got to where they are and why they stand for what they do. The performances, I think, are really strong, really good. Apparently, when this film was first came about, Steven Spielberg was attached to it, and Bobby Seale, who's played by Mateen II, Will Smith was attached to play that role. And I don't think the Fresh Prince playing this role of this man who is the character who ends up bound and gagged would have had the same impact if it had been such a big name. So these actors who may not be what you would consider A-list actors, they actually give A-list performances, so I don't think that matters. Sacha Baron Cohen pops up in it. Obviously, we're used to seeing Baron Cohen as Ali G and Borat and Bruno, these comedy characters, and seeing him play someone who is quite serious and doing these speeches, it's really nice to see him in this role. So I think the film is definitely worth a watch. In fact, what stuck with me after I watched it, any film that's worth its salt should make you want to find out more about the film, or if it's based on a true story, you definitely want to be inspired to investigate the real people in this story. And that's what I did. I went away and I looked at some of the people who were featured in the film, and I felt a little bit sad, if I'm honest, because when you read what really happens to people, obviously this was a long time ago, so some of those people have now passed away. You read about their lives and you read about what they went through. It's quite sad. And I think what this film does a really good job of doing is it shows you what justice and injustice looks like. You see some people who get a real rough ride, and you start to see that the justice system, the legal system, isn't always fair. So I think this is the kind of film that they should play in schools. I remember when I was in school, I can remember watching things like Tess of the D'Urbervilles. I can remember watching Much Ado About Nothing. But watching something like this, it's a really good way of showing young people what the justice system is like. It's not always fair. Right doesn't always equal right, and wrong doesn't always equal wrong. Sometimes it's political. It's about who's in power. It's about who you've offended. So we've got attorney generals in this film, and it's about whether they really want the men in prison just because, you know, we don't like what they're doing and we don't like what they stand for. So the film has a lot to say about justice. Obviously, there's some creative license. So there are certain incidents in the film which I'm not sure if it's 100% how it happened back in the 60s, but it puts you on the side of the defendants, and you really want to fight their corner. So definitely worth a watch, one I would highly recommend. So my official Marcus Loves Movies rating for The Trial of the Chicago 7 is, drum roll, 4 stars. As always, I'd love to find out what you thought of the film if you've already seen it. Would you highly recommend it to other people and say, give it a trial? Or do you think anyone who enjoyed it is probably living in denial? Did you think it was great? Would you give it a high score out of 10? Or did you think it was poor and you're like, never again? Please leave a comment, let me know what you thought of it. Give this video a like whilst you're here, and if you enjoy movie reviews and movie discussion, why not subscribe to this YouTube channel? I would really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, I appreciate your time, and I hope to engage with you again soon. So until then, take care of yourselves.